Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Brothers Grime podcast. And now, your hosts, Brandon and Randall Witherspoon. Enjoy the show.
Well, it certainly is wonderful to have you back, my brother.
Aye, sir. Good to be back.
I've missed you.
Likewise, you.
It's good to know. And happy Easter to everybody, by the way.
Yeah. Happy Easter, everybody.
We are recording this on Easter Sunday.
Yes. So
it will be post-Easter Monday once it reaches your ears. But
so when you hear it, actually, so happy belated Easter, everybody.
Belated Easter.
By the time it reaches your ears.
So, yeah. Everything good?
Well, as good as it can be.
Good.
Considering.
Yeah, man. It is great to hear your voice.
Yes.
It's probably not the last time you'll hear me say that today.
Well, I appreciate it.
So we're currently testing out some prototypes of the Brothers Grime podcast apparel. We have some T-shirts. We're both wearing them right now. It's pretty cool. So we're trying out different companies and seeing who we like the best, and that will hopefully be available soon to all you listeners out there.
Indeed.
So stay tuned for some more info on that.
Get your grime gear on.
Get it on.
We currently have matching shirts.
Yeah.
Which is cool, I guess.
Maybe. Lord.
It's the first time we've worn matching shirts in like 20 years, probably.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Yeah, indeed.
I guess. No, they can turn out pretty cool, actually. It's nice.
Yeah, we won't give them away.
No, but I think the masses will appreciate.
Indeed. Indeed.
Oh, Lord.
So, I have some pretty crazy stuff I want to talk about today.
I figured you did.
When don't I, though? Right?
True.
So, let's talk about dimensions.
All right.
4 of them, right?
I don't name them.
So,
I don't even
the most
know.
Obvious 3 dimensions, right, would be up, down, that's 1.
Okay.
Left, right.
Gotcha.
2. Forward, back.
Right.
3 dimensions plus time is the 4th, right?
Sure. Okay. 4
That's
dimensions.
what they tell us.
I don't know. I'm just an uneducated moron here.
Me too.
You bring the information and I just comment. That's all it is.
Well,
That's the Brothers Grime.
Well, yeah, okay, whatever. Anyway, so 4 dimensions.
Okay.
Up, down, left, right, forward, backward.
Got you.
All
Okay.
moving
Yeah.
in
With
time.
dimensions. Okay. I get it now.
Yep. 3D, 4D, all that good stuff. So
Sure.
anyhow.
5D.
Oh, we might go there. We might go there. So let's do a little something here.
Okay.
Podcast. The word podcast.
Podcast. Yes.
What I would like for you to do,
Okay.
as well as whoever is listening, I'm going to count to 3 out loud. On the count of 3, I want you to say podcast to yourself.
Verbal?
In your head.
Oh, in my
no,
head. Okay.
To yourself.
On the count of 3. Got it.
Silently say podcast.
Gotcha.
Ready? I'll do it with you.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
I did it.
Did it?
It is done.
So, you just said podcast in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard it, right?
I did.
You heard yourself say podcast, not with your ears, but you could hear it, right?
Mentally, yes.
You said podcast and you heard yourself say
did.
podcast somehow in
my
your mind.
Yes.
Okay.
My mind's ear.
So, yes. So, that's interesting that you can say something and hear something
yes.
without any physical parts of your physical body doing anything at all.
True. There's nothing audible happening.
Which
Crazy.
makes me wonder many, many things, such as...
Me too.
I think that it's kind of proof that you... Okay, let me back up a little bit.
I think I see where you're going with this.
Yes. So, first of all, I find it amazing that you can do that.
True.
The other thing, take a look at something in the room. Just look at something.
Got it.
Now close your eyes and picture that.
I got it.
You can see it, right?
I can.
You're not using your eyes.
No.
So you can see things in your mind, you can hear things in your mind, and you can speak things in your mind.
Yes.
That's really cool.
That is insane.
Do you think anything other than humans can do that on this earth?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not, but I have no way of knowing.
No, you don't. Nor do I. But anyway, that's beside the point. So I find that really intriguing that human beings can do that.
True.
I've never met a human that couldn't do any one of those things.
Also true. Yeah, it is insane. Like, so to get back to what you were about to say earlier, like, what does that mean? Okay, well, if nothing else, it means that there is
more to us than our physical bodies.
Yes, some zone of existence.
So what I was going, exactly.
It's not physical.
You're thinking on track with me beautifully right now. So where I was going with this, the entity that said podcast,
yes,
and heard podcast and pictured the thing that you looked at, is who I believe is you. It is your being, okay? Your soul, your mind, not your brain, your mind. Mm-hmm. Your mind, your soul, maybe one and the same.
What makes you?
You.
The real you.
The real you, which I believe exists in, dun dun dun, the fifth dimension.
There you go.
Okay? Because
I can see that.
I believe that we are all immortal beings.
Right.
Okay? That exist in this fifth dimension. That's where we are. Okay? Right now, and we can't see the fifth dimension, right?
Right.
So somehow this what's the word I'm looking for? This perception of what we see ourselves
in the physical
is something that was created for this dimension specifically to represent our being in this dimension.
Yes.
So we're currently existing in multiple dimensions all at the same time.
Right.
Which is also amazing. So why would you think that it just stopped at 4?
True.
Because obviously our being, our true being, okay, the immortal being that you and I are, that everybody is, isn't here. You can't see that.
Yeah.
You can't see the being that spoke the things that you couldn't hear audibly with your ears. You couldn't see the being that heard it. You know, that is you. That is you in the truest form.
You can't see your mind.
No, exactly.
Basically.
Because it's in the fifth dimension.
There you go.
And we can't see that with these physical eyes in this dimension that we currently live in. Reside in. Which is pretty amazing. So, I think once you realize that, you're free.
Yeah, we realize there's more than just the physical.
Should give you a lot more, courage and curiosity.
True.
And maybe a different perspective on the way you look at things. Once you start thinking in those terms, right?
Once you start thinking fifth dimensionally.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, no, totally. You might not be as worried about stuff anymore.
Right.
Physical things. Because you realize, wait a second, there is more than just this.
Absolutely.
You know?
And, and the other cool thing is you can see the past.
Ah, yeah, that's true. And you can...
Memories.
And your mind creates images that don't really exist.
That too.
At least not yet.
Not in this dimension.
You can think of potential future or
Can you
whatever.
see the future? You can see the past. Why can't you see the future?
You can perceive...
Possibly.
A potential future.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it
that
may
goes
come
into
to pass.
Well, that goes into the multiverse theory.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Everything's happening all at once.
Kind of like
in different
possible explanation for the Mandela effect.
Ah,
you know? Yeah.
Which
in that
baffles
all
my
these
brain.
different universes exists where every different possibility of every outcome of your life,
any choice that you could have possibly made
exists. So when you woke up this morning, in the world where you woke up this morning and didn't brush your teeth,
Right.
that sprouted an entire separate timeline, that kind of process of thinking, which is pretty interesting.
Different choices leading to different outcomes and, entirely different life, existence.
Right. But yeah, I think it's really, really interesting stuff to ponder, talking about this fifth dimension idea and, where you really are.
Yeah.
Your being, what
True.
you really are.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously far more than this meat suit that you're wearing.
That's very true. Speaking of which, maybe it's just my own paranoia, but have you ever been in a mode where you're thinking like this?
Mm-hmm.
And for like a half a second, you get like slightly claustrophobic and or freaked out because you realize you can't get outside of your own body?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
I think about that sometimes.
I do, too.
I don't know why. I don't know what that says about me, but...
But, that's what a lot of people believe certain chemicals can do for you. That is, get you into the fifth dimension.
Release you from the meat suit.
Release you from the meat suit. Allow you to
travel beyond.
Jump into the fifth dimension and beyond.
Ooh. Nice. By the way,
a lot of people believe there's hundreds of dimensions.
Infinite amount.
Infinite, yeah.
Yeah. That's insane to think about. But also, just to jump back, if you don't know what the Mandela effect is, and you want to just have a terrible day, go look it up, because it will trip you out, and you'll never be the same.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird ones. One I recently saw was the FedEx Mandela effect.
Please tell me. I haven't heard this one.
You'll have to look it up. It's it's in the FedEx logo.
Okay.
There's actually an arrow pointing right.
Okay.
Inside of the logo that people claim wasn't there before, I believe. Oh. It's pretty insane. Like the words FedEx, actually, the gap in the words and the letters make an arrow that points right that people say was never there before. The other one that's pretty popular is the Ford logo, and it's involving the F.
Yes. They claim there used to be a little line, like an extra line in the F or something like that.
It was a curly Q
in
the horizontal line that makes the F, rather than just a straight horizontal line.
You're right.
Which is weird.
But now it's just a straight line. Yeah.
There's so many of them.
In this universe.
There's so many of them. Yeah.
It is crazy. I remember the first time we discovered this.
Oh, yeah, it was nuts.
Oh, man.
There's a multitude of just so many different examples of what people claim to be Mandela effect. The first one that caught us was the Berenstein Bears.
Oh, gosh. And the way
reference
you spell
to the spelling of the Bernstein Bears, whatever it was.
It was at the end. So I always thought it was Berenstein, Berenstein.
Yeah.
But
Berenstein.
No. Well, that's what we thought. But apparently, allegedly, according to the powers that be, it has always been Berenstain, Stain, which I still refuse to believe because I swear it was EI.
The Berenstein Bears.
Yeah, it's not right. It's not
weird,
right, people.
Man,
the one that really jacked me up. Well, this one is just goes on a whole nother level, okay? Because, it's the mirror on the wall.
Oh, man.
That's the one that gets me, okay? Because what it is in Snow White, in the Seven Dwarfs, or whatever, the evil witch or whatever says, allegedly, what we all believed originally was that she said, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all, whatever. Well, come to find out, never in the history of the world has the phrase...
Of this universe.
History of this universe. Has the phrase mirror on the wall been uttered in the film. What she says, allegedly, is magic mirror on the wall.
Horseshit.
Now riddle me this. If everyone in the whole world has heard magic mirror on the wall, right, supposedly their whole lives, first of all, why do we all think it's mirror? A. B, and this is the part that's even worse. Maybe 10 years ago or something, they made a movie, it's a Disney movie, whatever.
It's a spin-off.
It's a live-action, basically, version of Snow White called Mirror.
Mirror on the wall, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Mandela effect, just to kind of go into it, for people who don't really know, I know you kind of mentioned it earlier, but basically what people say is that things change.
Basically, a widely held belief about something turns out to be false.
Right. Such as we've been describing.
Exactly. So,
And
originating with Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela, correct.
Multiple, large masses of people seem to recall watching the news footage of Nelson Mandela's funeral. But he's not dead. Well, he might be dead now. But the point is, up until very recently,
but he wasn't dead, and,
he was
and
not
everybody,
dead.
a huge number of people thought he was dead, and had, I almost said fond memories, had vivid memories of watching his funeral.
I guess it depends on who you were. But yeah, so all these people are like, oh yeah, I remember watching that when I was a kid.
Right.
And it was like, yeah,
And
well,
he was
he's not
still living,
dead.
yes.
Like, well, wait, what?
Right. So it all started with this cat.
And so because of that, it's now the Mandela
And
effect.
people are saying that we're jumping realities, basically.
Yes. So
That in a reality, everything that we just mentioned was that way.
Right.
So in a reality that we were in at one point in time, it was mirror, mirror on the wall.
Correct.
But in this reality, it's always been magic mirror on the wall. And some people always remember it as magic mirror on the wall. Some people remember it mirror, mirror on the wall.
That's right.
But it's an awfully large number of people to just discredit it.
Right.
That's what makes it interesting.
Exactly. Well, that's why I go to that.
And there's other
example,
things.
yeah.
It's not just there's so many examples that really hold a lot of weight in my opinion in the argument. And there's stuff like, apparel and like toys and merch and just all kinds of stuff that says like mirror, mirror on the wall and stuff like that. So it's like, and not only just the Snow White reference, but like tons of stuff, man. And it's really, really strange.
Yeah, that phrase has been used literally.
How about Luke, I am your father? Remember that one?
Right, yes. Luke, I am your father.
Which one was it?
Wait, he doesn't say... Oh, I forget.
That was a huge one.
Wait,
I can't remember what it is.
He doesn't say, Luke, I am your father, allegedly.
Yeah. Luke,
Apparently,
I am your father.
He doesn't ever say that.
He doesn't say that.
I don't remember off the top of my head what he actually says.
We have to look it up.
Yes. I believe he never actually utters the phrase, Luke, comma, I am your father. He just says, oh, I know what it is.
What is it?
I just remembered it. I remember the whole quote now. He says, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. And then Luke goes, he told me enough. He told me you killed him. And then he says, no, I am your father. So he doesn't say, Luke, I am your father. He says, no,
We all
I am
remember
your father.
Luke.
But for some reason, even in the movie Tommy Boy, remember? When Chris Farley speaks into the fan, he goes, Luke, I am your father. So again, it's a widely held belief that is the quote, but allegedly it is not the quote. And again, in this universe. So if you go back, people, and watch The Empire Strikes Back, and you watch that scene, he will not say, Luke, I am your father.
So
he will say, no, I am your father.
Officially, in this universe, here's how it goes.
Yes.
Vader. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. Luke. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. Vader. No, I am your father.
Yeah. Now, see, this one...
Not in the reality we grew up in, friend. It was Luke.
Here's the thing. This one we might differ upon, because I recall it always being, no, I am your father. But I also know that in a lot of pop culture, like references, people, or like shows or movies, people will say, Luke, I am your father. Right. So I don't really know where that one started, because me personally, well, maybe I never existed in the universe that you did.
Yeah, you might not have.
I'm just I am a copy of the brother that you once had.
Yes.
In the Luke, I am your father world, but we are no longer in that world apparently, and I don't seem to recall the
Chick-fil-A. That was the other one.
That one really messed me up. I hate that one. Okay, because here's the thing. I remember as a kid reading the Chick-fil-A sign and making a mental note. Now, what I believed was it was spelt CHIK-FIL-A.
Right.
I remember making a mental note about it just being a K. CHIK. And thinking, oh, that's kind of funny. They misspelt it or whatever.
Right.
Come to find out, in this universe at least, it is allegedly has always been CHICK-FIL-A, which I just refuse to believe that because I have vivid memories of, again, making a mental note of the misspelling. But
You want to know one that really, really effed me up?
please, lay it on me.
How many states are in the United States?
There's 50 states, but like we have like 2 territories or something like that in
Yeah.
addition to it.
So
Like that.
we only have 50 states. I always thought there was 52.
Maybe that's just poor education, but I don't know.
No, that's an example of the Mandela effect. A lot of people believe there's 50, 51, 50, or 51, 52, even more. Some people remember, but there's only 50 states.
Okay, I don't know what happened with those people, but as far as this podcast is concerned, it's always been 50 states. So, but I do recall something about like territories such as like isn't like Puerto Rico one of them, and there's like one other one I don't remember. Again, people, I'm not an educated person, but
Oh, we are the champions, Queen. The of the world part in there. You remember that one? We all know this legendary Queen song, whose final lyrics is "No time for losers, because we are the champions." ... of the world. But in fact, there is no of the world.
Yeah, you're right.
It ends with "We are the champions,"
Yes,
and
well,
that's it.
He does say "of the world" in the song.
Yeah, but not
it
at the
doesn't
end, not in the final lyric. Yeah.
Yes, but for some reason, everyone thinks that that's how it ends. Of the world. And that it's, it's
Then
not.
there was "Sex and the City." Some people thought it was "Sex in the City."
In the city.
But it's "Sex and the City."
Yeah.
I never knew.
Well, I think I did think it was "in the city" at one time, I believe. I don't know. I was also like a small child when that show
Right.
was on. I wasn't an avid fan, so. But, yeah, I could see that one. But.
Yep, it's pretty crazy stuff. You guys can look it up and
No, you could literally spend hours of your life.
forever.
Yeah, the rest of your life.
Every day there's like 20 more quote-unquote Mandela effects.
Until you shift universes and then you enter a realm where there's no such thing as Mandela effects.
Yeah.
And at that
Where there is
point,
no Nelson Mandela at all.
there is no Mandela.
Oh, another one was Billy Graham.
Okay.
Thought he was like dead a long, long time ago, but he like recently died.
Yeah, he just died.
People
like,
remembered.
Like 2
There was
years
another one they
ago.
remembered
Last
like
year,
watching
right?
his funeral on TV. Yeah,
Right.
2018 he died.
Yeah, last year.
And everyone thought that. I'm pretty sure it was 2018.
I think it was
Don't
last
quote me
year.
on that, but I'm pretty sure it was too. But yeah, a lot of people remember the same thing as like Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, exactly. A huge
watching his funeral.
televised
Yeah.
event. Yeah.
Right. It's so weird, man.
CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Billy Graham dead.
I remember mourning his death.
You mourned.
I took off
but-
work for a month.
Right. You may have mourned, but he was not dead.
Yeah.
Apparently. Well, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Well, in this universe, anyway.
Yep.
Yes, it's very strange. I don't know. It's a very interesting concept, and it's one that I like to dwell upon because I like being freaked out by weird stuff like that. I don't know.
Indeed.
It's awesome. I'm already freaked out, so like, like thinking about that, it messed me up even more, man. What is reality? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know anymore.
No, it's whatever you perceive it to be,
Apparently.
I guess.
Do you ever
Project your own reality.
Do you ever like lose track of reality sometimes? Like kind of like what I was talking about earlier, where you're like, I can't get out of my own body. You know what I mean? Like, you ever just think like, whoa, like, is this real? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is this really happening?
Right.
I don't know. I think about that a lot. Like when I'm at work, I guess, maybe because I'm like doing this thing I don't want to be doing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait, why am I here again? Am I here?
Right.
Like, wait.
What the
And
hell?
why am I here?
Where am I? Why am I? What am I? Somebody answer these fucking questions. So
exactly.
and
I don't know.
I think
question
I don't know,
my
man.
own reality. Sometimes.
Question your own. Yeah, I do it all the time. Anyway, maybe we're just fucked up people. I don't know. Well, there's no questioning. That,
Well,
but,
that's
anyone
who listens.
I mean,
knows.
well, and I think part of the reason why I do that personally is because I've had so many bizarre experiences,
bizarre happenings.
both self-induced and some and just completely random. Well, there is no randomness, but seemingly random to me at the time, right? I don't believe in randomness. We can go on about that for a little while too.
We'll get to it.
Yeah, I don't believe there is no such thing as randomness in this world at all.
Right.
But anyway, let me back up to what I was talking about.
Side note.
So yeah, think about that for a while.
Ruminate upon that.
Yeah, philosophize that.
Hey.
But anyway, Yeah, so I somewhat recently had like a random like string of lucid dreams that were insane.
I've never had a lucid dream.
Oh man, I'll tell you how to force one right now really easily.
Sweet.
Go to Winchester Cider Works and get yourself some cider and drink it, and you will have the most bizarre, vivid dreams you've ever had in your life. At least that's what happened when I put it into my blood. My brain reacted that way, and I had some insane dreams. I'm talking some crazy, realistic dreams. I literally, it was bizarre, man. It was really weird.
I've had vivid, but
I mean, it was to the point where like I fully remember it. I was totally, felt like I was conscious and walking around. Like it did not feel like a dream until some weird things started happening. And then I realized, holy hell, I'm in a dream right now. Yeah.
At least you realized.
Insane, man. Yeah. So sometimes I'll just be like, wait a minute. Is this another one of those
is this happening?
Lucid dreams?
Yeah, exactly. Am I dreaming or is this real? I don't know. Well, and
I need to get myself a little totem like on Inception.
Yes. Oh, I know.
It's just going to be a switchblade knife, and I'll stab myself in the leg.
And if you don't wake up,
then I'll go to the hospital.
We're going to be going to the hospital quite a bit then, my friend. If you slip into these moments as often as I do.
Oh, my God. That ain't right.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Well, that movie, like, again, way before that movie, I already was like, is this real? I don't know.
For sure.
But that movie, after you watch it, you're just like, oh, God. Then you really do question your own reality for a while. But didn't somebody tell us that they had a friend who, after they watched that movie...
You know who that was? That was Eric.
Yeah.
A guy we worked with named Eric.
Yes, it was.
So the story goes, supposedly this guy we know, Eric,
Allegedly.
when he was in college. He was in college when the movie The Matrix came out.
Oh, it was The Matrix.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. So he said that there was this one really strange dude that I think it was his roommate, and they were like halfway through the semester or whatever, and so like The Matrix came out and he went to go see it, and he said after that he just completely lost his shit, like went into total psychosis and flipped out and just never came back to college ever. He's never heard from him since.
He said his
totally
mom
messed
came
him up.
and picked him up.
His mom came and picked him up. He just freaked out. He couldn't handle it because he thought he was in the Matrix. He was trying to detach himself.
Yes, he never saw him again.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if he got out.
Yeah. Well,
so his mom came to get him.
Allegedly.
Supposedly, right?
Right.
Was it really his mom, or did he actually escape the Matrix, my friend?
That's true. His mom, a.k.a. Morpheus.
Yeah, it was Morpheus, bro. It wasn't his mom.
Exactly. Well, the person who claimed to be his mom came and picked him up.
Yeah, but it was Morpheus.
Yeah, very well could have been. Well, actually, no. I was thinking, can they take on like other personas in the Matrix, or I can't remember.
No, well, I don't think they ever did that.
I think they have to be like themselves. But
yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
it's all just a computer.
Yeah, so you can do whatever.
So I guess
you can sell a simulation.
could, as long as you. I mean, well, the programmer would have to make those changes, I guess.
So here's the thing with those movies. Like, the first one, like, explains the concept. I'm like, all right, yeah, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the second one's just like a lot of fighting,
and
they don't really expand on it. And then the third one, I'm completely confused by the end of it, because like they show like the programmer guy and all this.
Yeah.
But they don't really ever explain like what his deal is.
Right.
And then it just ends.
Yeah. That's for you to wonder.
I walk away very confused by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've yet to fully understand those movies, I guess. Maybe I'm just too stupid, but I don't know. Definitely a possibility.
Oh, I just want to jump back to what we were initially talking about, the fifth dimension stuff real quick, because I just had a thought pop into my head about that.
Yes.
So there's people who claim to be able to travel into the fifth dimension at will.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically they leave this dimension, they leave their body, and they go into this fifth dimension.
That's amazing.
And so I've heard some people talk about how Jesus Christ did just that when he was being tortured and hanging on the cross, because he wasn't there. He left the meat suit. He went back into the fifth dimension. And you can do whatever you want to the body because I'm not there. Right?
Yeah,
I'm over here in the fifth dimension. You can do whatever you want with that.
That's right.
It's a meat suit.
Yeah.
It's not real.
That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, think about that. Anyway, back to where we were. Matrix.
Lord.
Yeah, the ending. Strange.
Very weird. It kind of fell apart at the end there, for me at least. I don't know. But, speaking, well, like so you literally just said, this thought just popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are thoughts just things that float around the fifth dimension?
Maybe.
And then we just like grab them, or they just like jump over to our dimension?
I don't know.
Well,
no, because our being, our mind, soul, whatever you want to call it, I believe our being is our mind and soul as one thing that resides in our being in the fifth dimension. So that is in the fifth dimension. These thoughts that we're having
at all times
are in that mind that is also not in this dimension, but in the fifth dimension. So, yeah.
And then they just somehow travel into, well, they come out of your mouth and this dimension, like,
well, because we are inside of this meat suit in this dimension,
right? So anything
this
that
is
occurs,
how we're projecting our beings in this dimension through this meat suit.
The only way we can explain or perceive, like you said,
because without the mind, we wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be here. I mean, the meat suit would still exist, just like if you die,
right?
Okay,
yeah, that's
you
true.
die, you lose consciousness.
Yeah, that's true.
And then all that's left is the meat suit.
That's it.
But where did the consciousness go?
Exactly.
Back into the fifth dimension.
And if you, exactly. And if
the
if you
physical
didn't have the body,
requirements of life in the meat suit cease to exist.
Yes.
But your being didn't.
It expires.
Your being does not.
Exactly. That is very
what they
interesting.
Say.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense because, like you just said, we think, we come up with new ideas or creative things that we do, which is another interesting thing. Like, why do human beings feel the need to create things? You know what I mean? Like new ideas, new thoughts. Like, you're always like infinitely curious, and you're like, you need to like make new things. I guess maybe. Like you reach a point you've seen like everything, so you're like, my mind's infinitely curious, so I need to make something new. Otherwise I'm going to go crazy. It's like why we go to see new movies or read new books or.
What's kind of we talked about that before, like with social media too, constantly having to swipe up to see what was next.
What's next? Yeah, the infinite curiosity.
And that might have a little bit to do with. Did somebody talk about me? Did somebody mention me in a post? Did somebody, So there's probably a little bit of that going on in there too.
I mean. You see the little red notification, the little red numbers, and you instantly click on it.
Well, and it's a way for people to project themselves however they want to be projected. True. So, you see somebody's social media account, like an Instagram account or a Facebook account or anything like that, and, they can totally make themselves appear to be however they want. I mean, it might not even be pictures of that person. And they kind of almost like use that as an escape, kind of like people are probably going to do and already do with video games and stuff, but this whole wave of new AI technology and all that kind of stuff, virtual reality is really gonna start making things get crazy, I think, because people get this rush of serotonin and stuff when they see that they have all these 9+ likes on Facebook. Oh, I gotta open it up and see what people said about it. Oh, it's just the yard sale webpage. But no, and so people they get their egos boosted and self-esteem through this social media networking that really doesn't have anything to do with them or any bearing on reality at all,
whatsoever.
And so,
well, that's what's so interesting about the internet in general. Like, it's not even real. Like, it's real, but it's not a tangible thing,
right?
Which is just insane. Like,
you can't go, pick up the internet and throw it across the room, take pictures of it. You can't hold the internet in your hands.
Selfie with me and the internet. Like,
the internet isn't in one place.
No, it's just an internet. It's an interconnection of something. I don't know.
Many data centers.
I'm not smart
across
enough
the world
to know what it is, but again, the fact that a human being came up with that concept and then figured out how to make it work.
Right.
God,
pretty wild.
It's amazing. Shout out, what's his name again?
Who?
Created Windows. I can't remember. Bill Gates. Yeah. Did he invent the internet? Or I can't remember. Or did he just invent like the operating system Windows?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Pretty sure that's all he's responsible for.
I don't know.
Created Windows.
Well, I assume it's probably a large group of people collectively figured out how to make the internet a thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't even know how TV works, so I don't even know how telephones work, so I really can't wrap my head around the internet.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
But it is strange, like you said. So you have like your physical reality, but then, like you said, you can have this completely other
sub-reality.
This other reality, which again is not real. on the internet, which is not really real. You have this intangible reality,
Right.
because all it is just things that you're saying about yourself.
Right.
You say, hey, I did this, or I had fun doing this, or I enjoy this.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You can say anything.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't make it real. It's very strange. But like you said, it's just a serotonin rush, you know.
Yeah.
You just want to see what people, because we go back to the ego thing.
Vain and, you know.
Because everyone has that ego where they're like, I want to know what people think about me,
Right.
obviously. So they're like, so-and-so mentioned you in a comment. And so you're like, oh, awesome. What did he say? And it is very weird. I don't know. It's strange. What's even more strange to me, not that it exists, but that for so long it didn't exist.
Right.
You know? And now it's such an integral part of most people's lives
Yeah.
that, you know, it's just, you can't imagine life without it.
Sure.
You know, the internet or phones or whatever.
Especially phones.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Not even so much the internet, but I mean, because, but
It's all
what I'm
interconnected.
saying is, I mean, like, it was not that long ago.
Not at all.
Nobody had smartphones.
No.
They did not exist.
Basically, before we were born,
Just think about,
everything.
well, just think about, think about this. Smartphones
Mhm.
were created, and then how long did it take before they were a staple in everybody's everyday life? Not long.
Not long at all. Maybe a couple of years.
They were in the hands of every person in the world
Yeah.
in a very short amount of time, and nobody's put them down since.
No. Well, I can remember when the iPhone came out.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, man, wouldn't that be cool to like own that?
Right.
Like this thing is so like magical.
Right.
You can do anything, and there's no buttons. Like
Right,
what is
right,
happening?
right.
And then, and fast forward like 2 years, and everyone has one, and we're like, this thing's a piece of crap. You know?
Right. Complaining
Yeah,
about
they were
it. Yeah.
mad. Yeah, it's hilarious, but it really is incredible. Well, it's crazy. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we're at
It's
we're
amazing.
at an all-time high for technological advancement.
yes,
Like, things are advancing so fast, it's mind-boggling.
it really is. It's got to trip out people who are like 80 and older,
Yeah,
you know, because they lived like
right.
90% of their lives were lived in this pre-digital age.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, in the past 10, 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
it's been like
It's just
massive
insane. Yeah.
explosion. It's crazy. It baffles my
Yeah,
mind.
they're so far behind, like,
Yeah.
a computer? What's that,
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them, I mean, I
No,
don't
no,
offend
and people
anybody,
can learn, and obviously,
but it's just got to blow them away. you know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
because it's weird because like they live most of their lives was pretty much the same,
Right.
you know, from the 60s to the 70s to the
Mm-hmm.
80s. Yeah, it was pretty much life as we know it, and then all of a sudden with the internet, bang, and then from that point on, it's just
So do you
it's gone
see,
crazy.
personally, do you see any real benefit to human life since the invention of the smartphone?
No, not at all.
Like any real physical benefits?
no, well, no.
Other than convenience, I mean.
If anything,
Right?
I see more harm than
Mhm.
benefit, honestly. It's, yeah, well, because, people's self-esteem is at an all-time low now because they rely on social media for their own self-esteem and the way, self-confidence
Right.
and things like that. Whereas before, you could just interact with a human being and
Right.
you didn't know what everybody thought or didn't think of you, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? And so, more, less is more. Ignorance is bliss,
Right.
basically, And so the more you know, it's not necessarily going to make you happy,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to how other people perceive you.
Exactly.
Because you think of you as being cool and nice and whatever,
Right.
but maybe not everybody thinks that way.
Mhm.
And when you find that out, you're going to be depressed and blah, 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 and it just gets worse from there
Right.
at that point. So, me personally, I see zero benefit, honestly. Aside, when it comes to social media, I see no benefit.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like the technology part, really the only thing I can point to that's like, okay, that's helpful is probably like GPS.
I knew you were going to say that's what I was thinking. I mean, but
GPS for-
that's that's a convenience thing,
Well,
It's a map on your phone.
well, there's two factors. I was going to say there's the map part
Mhm.
where you just type it in, you don't have to look at a map anymore. It just
Right.
shows you where to go. But the other part is like being able to track people, like knowing where your family members are and things like that. So you're not worried. You call them,
Sure.
they don't answer. what happened, you know?
Right.
10 years ago, it was like, well, I hope they're not dead. But now you can just look and say, oh, okay.
So safety and
here.
security.
Safety and security, yeah, basically.
Okay.
And aside from that, I really don't see any benefit, honestly.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and being able to have a phone. I mean, this is obviously doesn't really pertain to strictly smartphones, but having a mobile phone, you know, being able to contact help in an emergency situation, that's
true.
Definitely a good benefit to owning one.
So possibly, I mean, I don't know. I didn't do the science. I've never read any research on it, but I believe that it's possible that the world has become possibly at least slightly safer since the advent of the cell phone.
Yeah,
possibly.
And I mean, are people getting smarter?
No. People are not becoming smart. In my opinion, they're not becoming smart. They might know more information because it's readily accessible.
Right.
But that's it. It doesn't make you smart just because you know something or trivia. You know what I mean?
I should have said more knowledgeable.
Perhaps. Well, yeah, I guess by definition, yes. We have more knowledge regarding...
I mean, obviously it depends
a wide range of
person to
subjects.
person because
Yeah.
you still have to make the effort to pick up the phone and search for the information and, you know, digest it and retain it. But it's there in your pocket. Anything you could ever wonder.
Well, I think one thing you can point to kind of prove that is like the medical field, obviously, you know, because 100 years ago compared to now, obviously things are so much more advanced. Doctors, what they know now, they know way more than they used to know, obviously. So, and you know, knowledge is power, of course, you know, they know more, and then from there, they learn more.
Exactly.
Standing on the shoulders of giants, basically, that whole concept. So in that regard, that area, I say yes.
Yeah.
People are smarter, obviously.
I guess pros and cons, just like anything else.
Yeah, but the average Joe, I wouldn't. I would not say that the average human is smarter now.
Right.
Because, I mean, intelligence.
Yeah.
It depends on how you define intelligence.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, are people seeking more information? Are people, is the average person, like, using the scientific method to figure out answers to things more often? I don't know. Probably not. You know what I mean? Like, just want to watch TV and chill out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is the other side, the flip side of the technology. You know, it's like, in one regard, people are using this technology to learn so much more about our world and all of this and medical, the medical field and all of that stuff. But then there's the flip side, where the convenience side, where it's like you don't really have to do anything. Yeah. Like Wall-E had it right, you know what I mean? The movie. Like, everyone's just going to be literally just sitting down, not moving, you know, in the next 50 years.
Can't possibly be healthy.
You won't have to. Yeah. Literally, you don't have to do anything anymore. You know, just a drone will come bring you food every day or something, you know, and a robot will feed you.
Yeah. But, and then the other crazy thing, since you're kind of talking about that, is like, I think we've talked about it before, but it was like replacement organs and body parts, I should just say, that man is crafting, growing or manufacturing.
That's it.
Growing like replacement human ears on rats and stuff like that. Have you heard about that?
Oh, I'll never forget the day I first saw the picture of the rat with the ear on his back.
Isn't that freaked out?
I still have nightmares.
So
terrifying picture. I was like a small child when I saw that. And it was really freaked me out.
It's bizarre, man.
Very odd. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's amazing what they can do now, and even scars are becoming smaller because they do like the laparoscopic stuff and like they use like the micro tools and all that. It's amazing.
Less invasive.
Amazing. Yes, less invasive. Exactly. They don't have to freaking cut you open from top to bottom anymore. You know, which is it's amazing. It's truly amazing, and I applaud any and every person who has helped humanity along this journey of medical knowledge.
Indeed.
You know, because it's helped millions of people, continues to, and will always, you know.
Yeah.
And shout out to medical people, professionals, like, for wanting to dedicate their lives to helping other people, which is an amazing concept, in today's world.
Anybody in the medical field.
Absolutely. A lot of people are
serving the public and helping.
Exactly. A lot of people are self-centered and, they don't really think about others. But to dedicate your life to literally helping others
it's quite a statement.
in a physical way,
Right. Especially like nurses and stuff like that.
Oh, my gosh. The stuff they have to go through on a daily basis.
Constant abuse, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Signing up for...
To be completely selfless,
There you go. That's the word. And that's something that the concept of being selfless is, I think, being directly attacked by things like social media.
I think
because the whole purpose of social media is for you to build yourself up, and it's all about you. MySpace,
a self-centered environment for sure.
MySpace. What do you want?
Right.
But yeah, exactly. It literally exists so that you can post anything you want about yourself. That's literally the point of it.
Right.
So it's not, pointing you in the direction of helping others typically. But I don't know. But that being said, technology can help bring people together, and it can help, things like, what is it? GoFundMe, stuff like that. You know, where
Patreon.
yeah, Patreon. We thank you for your support in advance. But yeah, it's so it allows people to get involved in other things that they otherwise probably couldn't. With the click of a button. So that's cool. But yeah, obviously there's pros and cons to everything, as we pretty much, that's the conclusion we basically come to whenever we talk about anything.
We do.
But it's true.
Well, there's always a balance, right and wrong, good and evil.
Oh, yeah.
Good and bad.
Everything
you want to say.
In moderation.
Yeah.
That's the key. You don't want to overindulge in
But there
anything.
can't be good without bad, and there can't be bad without good.
Exactly.
So they both will always and have to exist.
Yeah.
Everywhere and everything.
Equal and opposite reactions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. There has to be, in order for there to be something, in order for you to say that something is not good, you have to have a concept of good.
Yeah, there has to be good
has to be
before
a
you can
standard.
say not good.
Exactly. There is always a standard to compare to.
Right.
Otherwise, that's how we are aware of anything. You know what I mean? It's like just going up steps, if you miss a step, you don't feel that step under you, you're gonna fall. So the difference between air and that step, you know what I mean? Everything, it's all about comparison, basically. Comparison and contrast.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much all of life, really.
Yep.
And just the way that you proceed in life based on those comparison and contrasting things. So, which is why you have obviously multiple different perceptions of everyone has a different perception of life,
and it's all based on past experience.
True, which is yet another comparison and contrast.
Comparing this experience to an experience in the past.
Right, exactly. Like in the past, you come across something, you make a certain choice. Could be the wrong choice.
Right.
And you say, oh man, that wasn't good. Years later, you come to the same situation. You remember. Mm-hmm. You compare. You say, well, before I did this, so this time I'm going to do that. You make the right choice. So there you go.
And this conversation is reminding me of a similar conversation that I heard some philosophers talking about once. And it was in regard to science and facts.
Interesting.
The argument was, we can talk about it if you want.
Let's do it.
The argument was, there are no facts.
Okay.
So they were basically trying to discredit scientists. I don't know if that was their end game, but they were just saying that there aren't any facts. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Because.
Okay.
Just pick something. Pick the point of boiling water. Well, that's kind of an iffy one because it also depends on pressure and altitude. So let's not talk about that one. But let's talk about I don't know. Name something.
The growth of trees. I don't know.
Or
the existence of tables.
Or no. Let's just take it really, really simple. So you and I are currently sitting at a table.
Yes, indeed.
Adjacent from one another, talking.
Yes.
Okay. The table is made of wood.
At least I believe it is.
Yeah. So
it appears
wood
to be
is
wood.
Solid, right?
Yes.
So if you
can't put my hand through it.
Right. If you take your hand, you raise it, and you hit the table.
Yes.
you know what's going to happen, right?
They produce a sound.
You're saying if I or let's just say, I mean, if I pick up my hand and I smack this table, my hand is not going to go through that table.
No, you cannot pass
Right.
your hand through a wooden table.
Right. So we would say that's a fact.
We would agree on that. At least I would.
You can't put something through a
You
solid
can't walk
object.
through walls.
Yeah, you can't walk through walls. You can't walk on water. You can't, right. or like
you can't fly.
Yeah, I mean, if you
Yeah, but let's just stick with the two solid objects cannot pass through one another.
or let's say if you take a piece of paper and you hold it above a candle and directly in the flame, it's going to catch on fire, right?
Yes.
You say that's a
10
fact.
out of 10
You say that's a
times.
fact, right?
Yes.
But the philosopher was arguing that. How do you come to that conclusion? By testing it.
Yes.
Seeing the reaction. And repeating it, right? But he's arguing that just because that's what's happened every time that you've done it doesn't mean
Oh, I see where he's going.
mean that it couldn't do something else.
Right.
But he's saying that all facts that we claim to be factual are basically not factual
Right.
because you're just basing it on what you've seen.
Yeah. Well, you conducted the experiment within these parameters, but there could be a possibility where in different circumstances it wouldn't happen.
Right.
Or, exactly. Like, in other words, you would literally have, in order to prove, well, maybe never, but
Right.
basically it's you could do something an infinite amount of times, but it doesn't matter because you don't know if there's a possibility it might be different.
And it was a really circular argument
Well,
because
yeah,
of that.
very
As of
circular.
most arguments like that
Yeah.
that people bring up that claim to be philosophers, whatever. I mean, a lot of that philosophy in general, all that stuff can be really just circular and frustrating to talk about, really, because it's like, what?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
Well, the thing is, it's only frustrating because somebody is basically, in my opinion, just refusing to accept reality.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
In the interest of being interesting or philosophical, it's like, I think differently than you. It's like,
sure.
well, that might be so, but it doesn't mean that there aren't facts
Right,
or there
right.
not truth or whatever. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's, so I, again,
I mean, I would confidently
it's
say that
circular.
if you can walk over here and put your hand through this table, I'll shoot myself in the head. You know what I mean? Like, that's how much I believe in that fact.
Right, exactly. I will show you a solid object going through another one. Oh, Lord.
Oh, my God.
I will prove your argument right now.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, but it wouldn't really be going through it. It would just be separating the.
Yes.
It's more
It would be-
dense and
that's
moving at a
true.
higher rate. Okay, we're not even going to go there.
No. Now you're into physics. Which, well, how could there even be physics? How is physics even a thing?
Exactly.
If there are no facts, if there's...
Well,
if
you
there's
have
nothing.
all this stuff. What is it called? Oh man, I'm totally drawing a blank right now.
Darn.
What the bleep down the rabbit hole and all that kind of crap.
Oh.
Come on.
When you
What's it called?
I don't know. Because when you said that, I immediately had a blank. My mind is now blank.
Yeah, it
Because
has
you
that
said
effect on people.
Just thinking about that.
Oh my God, I can't believe I
don't
can't think
know.
of this. But
I don't even know it.
yeah, I mean, all that weird stuff about atoms behaving differently when you look at them than when they're not being observed and stuff like that, and that these subatomic particles and all this stuff can exist in more than one place at the same time.
Interesting.
And I cannot believe that I can't think of what
I don't know.
the genre of the
All I can think of is if a tree falls in the woods and nobody is there to hear it, does it make a sound? And the simple fact is you cannot answer that question unequivocally yes or no, because the simple fact is the question itself is unanswerable because you already said nobody is there to hear it. So if there's nobody there, there's no possible way to know.
quantum physics.
Quantum physics. There you go.
Yeah.
I was never going to think of that.
No. Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I know. And for a little while, I was listening to some philosophy podcasts and things like that, and some of the stuff was kind of interesting. But after a while, like you said, it kind of always boils down to some sort of circular reasoning.
Yeah, and it gets annoying. Like,
yeah.
I totally think that stuff's interesting to ponder and what have you, but some people just take it way too far,
Yeah.
And ultimately, what's the point?
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're right or wrong.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, does the tree make a noise? I don't know. But what bearing does that have on my life?
None whatsoever.
Precisely. So all you philosophy majors out there, just quit.
Yeah, give up now.
No, I love pondering that stuff.
No, it is cool.
Yeah, again, like you said.
I couldn't walk around like that all the time.
No, ultimately it's fruitless, and you'll probably end up very depressed because I have had friends in the past who did only think about those sort of things,
right.
and they were always depressed.
Yeah.
Because their mind was constantly filled with unanswerable questions.
Right.
So ultimately you're just going to walk around frustrated all the time.
Yeah.
It's a self-defeating process, really. Because ultimately you can't really arrive at an answer.
No.
Because, again, it's an unanswerable question. So why pose it? I don't know. Food for thought, I guess. But
I mean, basically, it's science is faith-based.
Yeah.
It really is, because you have faith that you're going to see the same results that you have 1,000 times in the past.
Or,
because you don't know. Right.
Yeah, you believe because I did this experiment in the exact same environment.
I'm not saying that I don't, because I do have faith in all of the, facts that I, they were talking about the difference between a law and, and that kind of stuff we were talking about, a law is absolute,
Like a law of physics.
A law of physics, yeah.
Like gravity.
Exactly.
On Earth.
Right.
It's like, it's never not, to our knowledge, been the way that it is. There's not a person alive who hasn't experienced the effects of gravity on Earth. So, but then I'm sure some philosophy guy would come and have some way of negating what I just said.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can argue it till you're blue in the face.
Sure.
It doesn't matter ultimately.
Yeah, at the end of the day, who the hell cares?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, at the end of the day, I just want to watch Netflix and eat
chill.
food. Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, the only thing that matters is Netflix and chill.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
That's what it all boils down to, folks.
It all boils down to entertainment, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Which is a distraction, says Alex Jones. Alex Jones. I passed a car today with an InfoWars bumper sticker, and you should have seen the dude driving it. He looked like an InfoWars subscriber.
Was he himself reptilian?
He was camouflaged, so I couldn't tell. I had my suspicions, though.
He was invisible.
But no, I mean, that guy's hilarious, man.
It's funny.
Oh man, and a lot of that stuff's interesting, but a lot of it's crazy. I mean,
he gets out there.
He's an interesting guy. I like listening to him sometimes. I can only take him in small dosages.
Yeah. You're not a devotee.
There's a lot of people like that. No.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, well, Alex Jones.
I mean, a lot of what he says, there's a lot of stuff that he says that I agree with, and stuff that's factual, and it's like, hey, yeah, for sure, you know. Yeah, like people are just, blind sheep, being led through a pasture in a way.
Right.
But
they don't want to know
some stuff that
reality.
he talks about. Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know about that, Alex.
Yeah, it seems Alex Jones, also known as Bill Hicks.
Bill Hicks, yeah.
The great comedian of the past.
Yeah.
For those of you who might not be aware, there is a conspiracy theory out there that claims that the comedian Bill Hicks, who supposedly had a tragic, not tragic, it is tragic, but he died at a young age of cancer. And some people believe that he didn't actually die, but he is in fact Alex Jones. And
there's pictures on there that are quite convincing.
Yes.
That point directly to that.
They do look strikingly similar, and he was very anti-government, kind of into the conspiracy theory stuff.
If you know anything about Bill Hicks, it would not be a stretch to think about him evolving into somebody like Alex Jones today. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
If
it
he
kind of
could-
makes
if,
sense.
like,
Plus,
basically-
they
yeah.
look a lot alike.
Yeah, so Bill Hicks, like without a beard,
really,
looks a lot like
really
Alex Jones.
similar. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is very strange. So, who knows? Maybe
Could be.
Bill Hicks. I don't know. If
We're
not,
on to you, Alex.
Yeah, we're on to you, pal. Along with those aliens, but well, if it's not actually Bill Hicks, then R.I.P. Bill Hicks, because he was a hilarious comedian.
Yeah, indeed.
Very interesting. You should, for those of you who don't know or have not heard him, you should check him out because he's really funny.
Yeah, and they've talked about before on that show Robert Lazar. You've heard of him?
I haven't actually. No.
He claims to have worked at Area 51 and surrounding military operations. He's the guy who, there's a lot of interesting stuff about him, and we could talk about him for a long time. Maybe we'll get into that another day.
Yeah.
But just to briefly talk about it, he came out back in the day about, all these wild tales of, contact with ET life and technology. He's making all these claims that the military was trying to reverse engineer all that stuff, and that they had successfully done that.
Wow.
And he went into great detail. He's an amazing speaker. Like he just sounds so believable.
I may have actually heard this.
Yeah,
guy.
there's a lot of stuff online about him. You can look him up and check it
Is he
out.
like an old guy?
Well, he is old.
Like in the videos that typically?
Well, no, there's a lot of videos when he was younger.
I saw some guy that was claiming weird crap too, so it could have been him.
But
I don't know.
yeah, so there's all kinds of interesting stuff, and he would he took a bunch of people out with a video camera one night, and he was like, hey man, this is when they test these new
Weapons?
no, not weapons, but like aircrafts and stuff that
gotcha.
they made by utilizing the technology by reverse engineering this
Right.
stuff, and they fly them at this time at this place, and they went there with video cameras, and they recorded stuff flying in the sky that was all crazy at the exact place that he took them to at the exact time he said it was going to happen. And so it was weird that he seemed to have this information and stuff,
Right.
but the stuff that he was saying nobody could really prove or disprove,
Right. Of course.
and then he claimed to have gone to these schools and had these degrees and done this and that, but nobody could get any information proving that he was actually there. So then there was this whole conspiracy that the government, because he was whistleblower or whatever, they totally wiped all that stuff to try to discredit him and make him look like a conspiracy theorist
Like
and
a
nutcase
loon.
and all this
Yeah,
kind
of
of stuff. But he didn't ever act crazy or say any weird shit. You know what I mean? And so then one thing, I wish I could remember what it was. He described an element,
Right.
a new element that they had discovered.
Interesting.
And I wish I could remember what it was. I might have to look it up in a minute, but yeah. And so this was a long time ago, and it didn't exist. But recently they discovered this new element, and it's named the exact same thing that Bob Lazar said way back in the day.
So, yeah.
I think it's what is it, element 155 or something like that.
So it lends, credence to what he was saying, I guess. Possible, somewhat proof of what he was saying, I guess. Interesting.
Element 115. That's what it was. Element 115. That was, he basically said that the UFO, the UFOs used gravity wave propulsion, and that was the element that powered them.
Oh,
Element
okay.
115.
Interesting.
And he described all about it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that it is now on the
periodic table of elements.
Table of elements, yeah. Insane.
That is pretty
So,
great.
thus, I mean, does that prove his credibility about everything,
No.
No.
But perhaps, that's about that thing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if he was being truthful about that, and how could he possibly know about it? I mean, I think it was back in the 80s when he was making these claims, and
But it wasn't until recently.
Right.
Yeah, dude.
It's pretty insane.
Well, I mean, I think it's entirely possible that everything he said is true. And I think it's very possible that the government would have wiped, his name from all these colleges and all these things that he claimed to be associated with.
Yeah, it was back in 1989 when he became a quote-unquote whistleblower and made all these claims. Yeah. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty
wild,
crazy.
man.
I mean, again, I think it's entirely possible that everything said is true. I mean,
yeah, it was 2003. 2003 when the
gotcha.
when they confirmed that element 115 exists, and it was 89 when he made the claims. So,
Well, there you go.
pretty interesting.
That is.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, basically, when it comes down to it, I definitely believe that there is stuff that we don't know, well, that the mass public doesn't know.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's a given.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's no denying that. I mean, because obviously there's like confidential papers and all of that stuff that the government people know that we don't.
Yeah, well, and it's a fact that they had these operations like back around like Vietnam and stuff like that, where they were bringing in these psychics, supposed psychics, and trying to get them to remote view things. You know, it was this big whole remote viewing thing where they were trying to like spy on the Soviets doing stuff, and they would bring in these people who claimed to be psychics and have this, you know, telepathic ability and all this kind of stuff, and they would be able to remote view and see things. You know, they would do different things in different ways. They would give the psychic like, you know, actual coordinates, and then they would, you know, clear their mind and visualize these coordinates and be able to see stuff, and then they would like describe it in detail. And some people would be like, you know, be able to picture in their mind them walking in that exact area, and they would, you know, artists would draw out what they were saying, or they would draw, and, you know, whatever. And in supposedly it was, you know, in a lot of cases quite accurate and weird, you know. So I mean, who knows? I mean, if that stuff is really possible, and they're still implementing it today, and they have fine tuned it to, you know,
again, who
knows, man?
It's possible, definitely.
Pretty crazy stuff, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, there's stuff that we don't know for sure.
Most definitely.
And there's stuff that I believe the government has perpetrated that we aren't aware of.
Right.
Most definitely. Especially in times of war, things like that.
Right.
CIA, FBI, all that stuff. Like, I mean, obviously, because it's not common knowledge, because they don't want it to be common knowledge.
Right.
I mean, so much stuff that was going on. I was, like we talked about, I think the first podcast, I was watching that 10-part documentary about the Vietnam War. Yeah. And there was like so much stuff that the presidents were doing. Right. And all these attacks and stuff like that. They were literally on the news saying, you know, we don't have any boots on the ground, and we're not doing this, we're not doing that. And they were literally like, at that moment, like 10,000 American soldiers were like destroying something. You know what I mean? Like, so obviously, and especially back then, because they didn't have the internet, didn't have anything.
Exactly.
No,
it
like,
was a lot easier to hide things.
Yeah.
Back then.
Oh my gosh, you could pull the wool over anyone's eye. Because they see it on the television, they just assume it's true. Right. And there you go. You know, or if they don't see it on the television, then they don't know. Because
that's the only source
of
information they have.
Exactly. Right? That or the radio. Right. And that's it. And if they're not talking about it, then no one's gonna know. Exactly. Obviously. So, I mean, so they know that now, retroactively, you know, going back and reviewing these events that occurred, that the government did in fact do things that the public was not aware of. So, I mean, and I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, who the heck knows? Right. And that's just wartime stuff. So, you know. And then, of course, it's always seeking power and to be the world's power, you know, number one world power. Sure. Of course, they're going to try to implement, like, weird metaphysical stuff like you were talking about, like, to try to get a leg up on
everybody and everything. Just like when they experimented giving LSD to soldiers back in the day and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to make a super soldier.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty crazy.
It's insane. Well, oh, gosh, I just thought of something else. Yeah. With like all the DNA stuff or genetic stuff that they can do now. Oh yeah. Oh man. Like in the next 20 years, like they're probably already doing it, but trying to like literally create like people who are.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. You're going to be like, and not only that, but like, you know, physical attributes like superhuman. What color would you like your child's hair to be? Yeah. You know, so on and so forth. Eye color, hair color, skin tone. I mean, you know, whatever. I mean, possibly even manipulating IQs and stuff like that. I mean, being able to genetically engineer these super intelligent people. I mean, who knows, man? You know, it's wild stuff.
Just wait, people. I'm telling you, next 10 to 20 years, it's gonna get crazy.
But like, only people with like big bucks could engineer those those types of humans, And I mean, if they're cloning people and they're creating these, basically engineering a person to become a president or a whatever, by totally engineering everything about the person. Make them physically attractive, to make them,
a good speaker,
well-spoken, all those things, intelligent, and,
of course,
and it's a clone of somebody,
Yeah, because ultimately, I believe that there's just a small group of people running everything.
Yeah,
because obviously they have the money, and if you have the money, you have the power, and
indeed,
if anyone tries to say anything otherwise, you can just shut them up because you control everything.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. You can literally do whatever you want.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I mean, it just makes you want to question everything when it comes to politics and things of that nature. It's like, because, it's all manufactured.
The Rothschilds.
Oh,
Kennedys.
There you go.
We won't get into that too heavily, but we could talk about that.
I mean, the whole political situation of America today and all, I mean, it's all been manufactured by a group of people,
right?
Purporting this information versus that information, and pushing, this person's against this group and this group's against that group, and then you get
all propaganda, man.
Yeah, and you get people who don't do any research and they just believe whatever they see or
which
read.
Is a large number of folks.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately,
people who don't. Then you can stir up the pot to and get the people to do anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I believe that's exactly what's happening with this whole. Polarization of our country in this day and age, or this very moment, with the increasing polarization that's in the past, basically since Trump got elected, really, and stirring up that whole pot with racism and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't think it's an organically forming thing. No. I think there's definitely people,
that are feeding the fire.
Exactly, fueling the fire for sure. Because, when we were younger and like throughout the 90s and that kind of stuff, like, you just didn't really hear that much about it as much, you know what I mean? Like, and then it just seems odd that as we progress as a human race, that we would revert back to issues that were, brought up and for the most part resolved in like the 60s, civil rights movement, that kind of stuff. And so all that stuff was brought to the forefront, and all these people said their piece and all that, and they passed these rules and laws and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, all right, that's cool. So we have this time of peace. And then all of a sudden, like, why would our generation just randomly decide that we don't like other races and stuff?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that are racist, because I think there are.
Oh, there definitely are
people out there, because people can
I have met
believe whatever they want. Yeah, for sure. I don't think that there's any logical reason as to why, like you're saying, there would be a random outbreak of a high number of these people or anything.
Mass quantities of racists just appearing out of nowhere.
But, I mean, that's, you're never going to get rid of that 100%, because people are going to, there's just that many people in the world that have unique opinions that are going to feel a certain way for whatever reason, whether it's fueled by ignorance and, it doesn't matter,
Yeah, exactly. Whatever they perceive the world to be a certain way, and even though it's wrong, that's what they think.
You're going to have good and bad, good and evil.
Exactly.
Right and wrong. It's always you're always gonna have wrong, and you're always gonna have bad, and you're always gonna have evil.
As long as you have one, you always have the other. Like
absolutely.
You said,
you can't extinguish it. You can't exterminate it. There's no possible way to do it.
There you go. Otherwise, you just have complete chaos.
Well, it's just impossible.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, even if you incarcerate every evil person on the planet, it still exists.
Yeah, it's just incarcerated. They've
you can't
caged
get rid of
it. Yeah, just like that episode.
They've quarantined.
Like that episode of Twilight Zone. Remember?
Which one? I've seen some.
The one where, it's like the devil is like incarcerated. Remember? But then like the guy's like wandering this like place, and then like the devil like he hears this guy talking, and like he like basically the devil like convinces this dude to like let him out, that he's been, remember, he's like, I've been incarcerated, against my will, and I'm innocent, blah blah blah, and the guy lets him out, and then like that's because of that there's evil in the world.
That was pretty crazy.
That was pretty wild, but it just reminds me of a Seinfeld quote that I heard the other day. I forget who said it, Jerry or something, was like, This reminds me of that Twilight Zone episode where the guy wakes up and he's the same and everyone else is different. And George is like, which one was that? And he's like, yeah, they're all like that. But it's true.
Yeah, it is
if
true.
you really break it down.
Remember the hog nose episode?
It's still terrifying. It haunts my dreams to this day, honestly.
Oh my God.
It was terrifying. I don't know why, but it was terrifying.
Yeah. They were great shows. We used to
Oh,
watch
I love
them
that
as
show. You know-
youngsters at the Outer Limits and Twilight Zone and all that kind of stuff.
Here's the thing. Hollywood people, listen up. You want to keep remaking these other things and whatever, like these other movies that weren't that great to begin with.
Remake the Twilight Zone.
Make a modern Twilight Zone.
Oh my God, please.
Dude, with the film technology we have today, the CGI, all that,
Yeah.
dude, you could make them so good and they could look amazing. And you have so many like great like writers who are super creative
Yeah.
today. Like,
Yeah.
man.
And, Black Mirror is kind of going that way, but it's more
Right.
so just centered around like technology and stuff. So I think it'd be cool to have a broader spectrum of
Exactly.
ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Like the Twilight Zone was.
strange idea. Dude, just
Didn't
make-
really have a theme of
Yeah.
strangeness. It was just strange things.
Yeah, strange occurrences
Yeah.
that happened within.
Oh, dude, if they remade the Twilight Zone,
Dude, it would be so good.
oh, it would.
It's so
Everybody
amazing.
would love it.
Like, okay,
They remade the Outer Limits. Remember, like they had a modern
yeah,
version
in like
of the
the
Outer Limits.
80s or something. Like they started making like
Yeah.
new. Actually, they did it with the Twilight Zone too, because
Oh,
they
yeah,
had
they
like
did,
the
they did, they did.
originals from like
Well,
I
they
guess
just need to keep that going forever, man.
from like the 60s.
Yeah, way old.
I guess. And then like in the 80s, they like made
Yeah.
them, and they were terrible.
Yeah, they sucked.
But it was so bad. But the
Why
technology.
did everything blow in the 80s?
I was just about to say I didn't want to go there, but now I will go.
God, it
like,
did. Unless you grew up in the 80s, then, everything in the 80s was great.
yeah, because you were high on cocaine.
Right.
And so everything was awesome.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
Except the next
retroactively,
day.
yeah, well, looking back on it, even just the style was whack, the music was, why was everything so weird? It's like you had everything was fairly normal, like the 60s and then the 70s was kind of the same,
Yep.
similar,
It's
and
like-
then the 80s.
You just reminded me of that guy on that YouTube video. He was like talking about the
Yes.
skateboard, and he's like,
Yes.
that dude whack. His style, whack.
His clothes, whack.
way he always be smiling, whack, or whatever he says. I can't remember. That shit was hilarious.
Everything about the guy was whack.
Yeah, everything
apparently.
about the guy was whack. Just
According
like
to
the
this other
80s.
guy. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I wish somebody could explain to me like what happened in that era because it just makes no sense. I
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah, I don't
well,
know.
actually, I have a theory
Hmm.
as far as the music goes.
Oh, okay.
And I've explained this to certain people, and it usually gets a decent response. So let me spit this at you.
Please.
So my theory as to why 80s music is so odd compared to and different compared to like most of the music that exists prior to it
Right.
and post 80s.
Yeah.
Well, so in the 60s you had 60s and 70s you had like specifically in like soul R&B like Motown music the electric bass was like very prominent.
Right.
Like, typically Fender Precision, like holding down the groove. And so it was kind of in the forefront,
Right.
and which kind of gave everything like that sort of groovy element
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of cool element.
Right.
And even rock music, the bass was really prevalent and everything is kind of more hard driving and whatever.
Yeah.
And anyway, the point is it made everything cooler, made everything groovier, right? When in the 80s, with the advent of and wide usage of the synthesizers,
Yes.
kind of replaced the bass.
Yeah.
So instead of having this cool thumping rhythmic pattern, groovy pattern, you take that away and you just kind of have like this droning sound of the synthesizer
Everywhere.
like all the time.
Yeah.
So like boom, 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 boom. It was just wah, 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 wah. Yeah, literally, it's like okay. So then everything became like spacey and dreamy and weird, and then they ratcheted it up a whole nother notch with like the pop element of
Right.
it, where it was just like super happy,
Oh, yeah.
but everything was like this canned sound,
Right.
and like they cranked the reverb up on the snare drum for some reason, like way,
Yeah, that was definitely a
way
thing.
too much. So in the 60s and 70s, it was like,
Yeah.
and then in the 80s, it was like, Like the snare sound went on for like 14 minutes every time they hit it. I don't know what happened there. So it was a combination of like tons of reverb, tons of droney synth sounds, and like the canned drums also. Like, I guess, and everything was really happy because everyone was like high or something. And so like, also, America was like in a decent spot in the 80s, you know, like the economy was good, like everything was cool, so people were happier, which is why the music suffered. When people are happy, music is terrible.
Indeed.
When people are depressed, that's when you get great music.
Unfortunately, unfortunately for the music, fortunately for the creator of the music, when somebody's in a bad way, they're on drugs, whatever, their life's a mess, they write great music, great lyrics. It's awesome, it's heartfelt. And then they get cleaned up. They get off. They get cleaned up. They get off drugs. They get out of whatever hole they've dug themselves into, and their life is turned around, and they're in a good way, and they're happy, and everything's going good. Their music absolutely fucking sucks, and it's the worst thing in the world.
It's it's true. As sad as it is, it's true, and I can point to bands that I have loved.
And I mean, I guess it's worth it, for the sake of the human being that's going through those things.
Oh God, more power to it. I'm glad you're in a better spot, but
just stop making music. When your life's good, you don't need to do it anymore. Just stop. Just stop.
For my ear's sake.
Stop it now.
I don't want to hear it.
I'm not going to name anybody, but you and I are thinking of the same person right now.
I'm thinking of like 4 different bands right now. Well,
there's one
I
in
know
particular.
Exactly. A specific person, yes.
We're not going to call
who
him
is
out,
now fit and happy, and the music blows.
God damn it.
Unfortunately for us. Yeah, it's weird. So I think that has a lot to do with why 80s music is weird.
Yeah, probably.
And not heartfelt. And I don't know. It's just strange.
Indeed.
I mean, you take somebody like Ray Charles or something like that,
Yeah.
in like the 60s and stuff, or 50s and 60s, like, singing some like, blues soul tune, from the gut, what I mean? Like, because he went through it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
He grew up in hard times and his whole life was
soul,
rough.
Man. You just said it right there with one word.
Exactly. And so it's legitimate. It's real.
Right.
And then you fast forward to the 80s and you got like the Paula Abduls of the world. Or
right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's like you're just like a person who was found to be attractive and you dance around.
But see, some people like that.
I don't get it.
In the same way that, like, a lot of people like the hip hop that just is nothing but, it consists of nothing but bragging about how much money you are and how successful you are. It was the same type of idea, I mean, you have some people like that, some people don't.
Oh, look, obviously it's
by definition
completely subjective.
Of course, and whatever, people like different things.
You like what you like. I personally happen to be drawn toward music that is more heartfelt and real, which tends to be on the more morose side of things, the depressing, whatever you want to call it. But, those emotions are much, they tend to be much stronger or much more deeply felt.
Yeah, well, it's like I like music that makes me feel what the person who's singing it or playing it is feeling or was feeling at the time of production, right?
Yes. There has to be an element
because I like feeling things.
Exactly. Yes. If music does not make me feel something,
it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, whether good or bad, and I'm not going to listen to it.
Exactly.
Which is why, me personally, I've never been a big fan of like the modern. Well, and when I say modern, I mean like kind of early 2000s ish, like modern pop music.
Right.
Which is like, it's really like dance music.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no emotion.
Right.
It's just a hard driving, fast beat.
All electronica type stuff.
So that people can just like go to a club and dance around and have a good time. Whatever. Go for it.
That's fine if you want to go dance. But I mean, as far as like sitting down and listening to music,
if I'm driving around in my car.
Unless you're driving down the road on your car on MDMA. I get it.
Exactly. In that case, maybe it works, but it's not the type of music that I could just sit down and listen to.
Right.
Because again, it makes me feel nothing.
Right.
So, in conclusion,
Dizzy,
I must feel something.
Yes.
There must be an emotional connection for me to grasp onto.
Sure.
Then I will connect to the music. But if not, then I'm not going to listen to it.
That's probably why we also find ourselves listening to podcasts and talk radio and stuff because.
People expressing themselves, basically, the way that they feel, how they think,
for
whatever.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, because that's why I don't know. I don't really enjoy like even podcasts. Like I needed to listen to a podcast that's like either like really deep,
Yeah.
or funny or like
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
But I couldn't listen to somebody like who just like talks about how their life is awesome. And, like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Today I walked my dog and I lost 10 pounds. It's like,
Right.
okay, like what does that do for me? You know what I mean? I need some kind of food for thought or something.
Exactly.
I need to be able to engage in it in some way
For sure.
for any form of entertainment.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not a big fan of like action thriller movies.
Right.
They're to me like the pop music of movies.
And you can't relate to that.
No.
Nobody can relate to
I'm
that.
not a superhero.
Right.
Like stop making and if you enjoy this, go for it. And I'm probably
Right.
gonna get flack for this, but why have they made like 12,000 Avengers movies at this point? You know what I mean? It's like just stop. Okay.
Oh
Like,
yeah, you're gonna get flack.
a bunch of people, a bunch of superheroes doing superhero things. Like
well, see,
whatever.
and no, so like, I guess that's where you and I differ a little bit because I'm not saying that I'm like a huge Avengers fan or anything, but
Right.
like, or any kind of like comic book stuff.
Right.
I'm not, but I do like fiction.
Oh yeah, sure.
I do.
As do I.
I mean, I like nonfiction probably more, and that's the majority of what I, find myself digging into. But I do like science fiction.
Yes.
I like it.
I do like science fiction.
Science fiction.
Yes.
I do like fiction of multiple kinds. Science fiction is probably my favorite, but I like stuff that's like, I do like watching like certain things. Like I was watching the Doctor Strange Netflix series, and that was pretty cool.
I haven't seen it, but
No, it was pretty cool. And so some stuff like that's it. But then again, I don't even really know if you'd call that fiction because that's debatable. That kind of stuff. I mean, the story is not a true story.
Right.
He's not a real person that existed. But I mean, the idea of some of the stuff that he was doing might actually exist. Who knows? But yeah, no, I do find fiction interesting to sometimes to watch it. But I definitely like to focus on nonfiction. I think.
Right. Yeah, like I would much rather watch like a documentary.
Absolutely.
Than if you were to say, hey, let's watch the Avengers
Or
25 or watch this documentary on basically any subject.
Right.
I'd be like, sure, let's go with the documentary.
Indeed, that's what
because I enjoy learning new
Right.
information.
Yep.
And I guess really that's the bottom line is if you're watching these action shoot 'em up thrillers,
productive
there's
to your mind.
no new information.
Absolutely.
It's just like, oh, this thing didn't
It's just
happen.
pure fictional
Okay.
entertainment,
Yes.
which is cool sometimes.
There's
Yeah.
a place for that. Every once in a while, I like a mindless
for
action
sure.
thriller.
Or comedy.
Comedy. Yeah. See, that is the thing. I
Yeah.
do love comedy.
Indeed, I know.
So people could differ with me on that.
Right.
But by and large, I typically enjoy movies that are drama, basically.
Yeah.
Like, like a,
Like The Notebook.
oh, man.
All-time favorite, right?
It's one of my favorites. I do love that movie. I will unashamedly say I do love that movie.
Same here.
But stuff that's just like real situations, or you know what I mean,
Right.
like, and because it gives the actor a chance to really dig in and like do their thing,
Right.
Whereas it's just like otherwise it's just like CGI and like it's all a big green screen anyway,
Yeah.
and you can't. There's no close-up shots or
Right.
anything, Like I don't know. I just like to watch actors doing their craft,
Right,
and,
right.
and I'm sure. But that's why a lot of actors will do like they do like the one for them, one for me sort of deal.
Yeah.
They do like the action thriller, make billions of dollars, because why not?
And then they,
they do
produce
Broadway,
their own movie or
that,
something.
or
yeah.
they do some low budget, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, but a lot of them do stage acting and stuff
for sure.
just because that's what they enjoy doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually acting
For sure.
And so I guess I like to see that because they're really, expressing
Yeah,
themselves.
and ultimately, it's going to turn out to be a better result in the end.
Yeah.
It's going to be a better better movie or better whatever they're doing. Because they're into it. you know?
They're putting forth more effort,
Right,
and
it's what
they
they
themselves
actually
are
wanna do.
interested.
Yeah.
They're investing themselves more in it,
Precisely.
which is, like you said, going to ultimately create a better product.
Yeah, definitely. man.
But I don't know. Really, it's what's interesting. When I was a kid, I liked the action and adventure type movies, as most kids do.
Sure.
But
Let your imagination run wild and fuel your creative little brain.
exactly. But I tell you what movie. Officially, I remember the movie that kind of changed my thinking on movies
What was that?
and the style that I like. Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh, okay.
like up until that, I was like, I'll just go watch a movie because like some gangster shooting some guy and whatever. There's a hot chick, whatever.
Right.
But that movie, I was like, because like it's dramatic.
Right.
There's some elements of humor, and it's just like it's got like a little bit of everything. And I'm like, man, like this is a really good movie.
Yes. Movies, I would say any psychological thriller is my all-time favorite type of movie to watch.
I enjoy them as well
because I love trying to figure them out beforehand.
Yes.
What's going to happen? What's the twist?
True.
Multiple twists.
A twist.
Stuff that messes with your mind.
Yes. Well, I mean, a great twist is awesome in any form of movie, but yeah, obviously psychological thriller, that's what it's all about generally. So,
and typically they're involving weird situations, like strange stuff.
Yeah.
Strange goings on.
Exactly.
But,
so like sci-fi / psychological thriller / whatever, mind-bending,
you can
whatever.
just keep slashing away, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like slasher movies, though.
No, I don't either.
Slash 'em up movies.
No, me either.
I do not enjoy horror movies.
Yeah, I don't either.
Personally. I don't like the blood and guts stuff. I don't like the gore stuff.
Nope,
None of
doesn't
that.
do anything for me.
Well, the reason I don't enjoy those films is because I don't know if I'm like ultra, like extra compassionate or something, but I really have a hard time dealing with human suffering. Like, I cannot witness human suffering. Like, it just bothers me deeply. So, I can't watch. I have a very hard time watching movies like the Saw movies and stuff like that. Like, I've seen them, but
I just don't understand why anybody would want to watch that. Like, what are you getting out of that?
Well, I had this conversation with my wife the other day. I was trying to.
I mean, I get like ones that are like, startling and scare people. Some people like that. Same reason people like going to haunted houses and stuff like that. Adrenaline rush and all that kind of stuff. I get that. But like the sick and twisted, gory movies where people are suffering and dying and being tortured. Like, why do people want to watch that?
I would never.
That's sick to me.
Yes.
Like, for real.
I agree. I would never willingly I would never want to see anyone or thing.
Yeah, I just don't understand it. I don't understand what people get out of that.
What's the appeal?
Yeah. Why?
What are you getting?
Why are you watching?
Exactly. Yeah.
What's your reason behind it?
Yeah.
Somebody tell us. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
I'm not at all bashing anybody.
No.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, me personally, I don't understand it. I simply do not understand it.
Either.
And I would love to understand it. So if somebody thinks that they can formulate this into a paragraph and let me know, please do not hesitate to do so.
I
would love to hear about it. I would absolutely love to hear. Oh, and by the way,
yes.
This is to our listeners. We are going to be, hopefully sooner than later, implementing some live calls.
Yes.
We're going to be able to talk to you guys remotely. We're going to be able to do some cool stuff, and we will absolutely send out a newsletter and post that all over social media and all that good stuff when that time comes. And we're hoping it's going to be really soon. So we really look forward to being able to talk to some of you guys. And
so you can answer these questions that we pose.
Exactly.
Because we don't know anything. Tell us stuff
for sure, and share your opinions.
Oh, please, by all means. That's what it's all about. That's why we're here.
So we can't wait for that.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun.
Sooner than later.
Absolutely.
Well, my brother, it's been amazing.
Indeed.
Sitting back at the table with the mics with you.
Yes, sir.
Certainly glad to have you back, and look forward to recording the next one with you, my friend.
Yes, sir. As do I.
And so before we end this episode, I'd like to remind you guys out there listening that if you enjoy our show, please give us a review and rate the show on iTunes. It helps us out big time.
Absolutely. We appreciate those of you who have been listening, and we hope you enjoy the content as much as we enjoy bringing it to you.
Hey, if you made it this far, thanks so much for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed the show.
Stay grimy.